He brought an uninvited girlfriend to a $300 dinner, then blamed the host. You're on Reddcouch. Welcome to the sofa. Hit the subscribe button, drop an upvote, and let's get into it. Today's story asks a very important question. What happens when you plan an expensive dinner for exactly 6 people, and one of your guests decides that exactly 6 actually means 7? Our storyteller loves hosting dinner parties. Not every weekend, not casually. Just a couple of times a year, they invite a small group of old friends over and prepare something special. And these aren't random acquaintances. This group has known each other for around 15 years. They meet up every few months, so everyone understands how these dinners work. For this particular evening, the host invited 5 guests, 2 couples, and 1 single friend. Including the host, that makes 6 people, 6 chairs, 6 plates, and most importantly, 6 portions of food. Now, this wasn't going to be a giant bowl of pasta where you can just add a little more sauce and hope nobody notices. No. The menu was filet mignon, a small lobster tail, and 2 side dishes for each person. A full surf and turf dinner. Every steak was supposed to be cooked according to the individual guest's preference. Every person would receive 1 filet and 1 lobster tail. The host spent more than $300 preparing this meal. And because filet mignon and lobster aren't exactly emergency pantry food, they didn't purchase extra portions. Honestly, that seems reasonable. And most people don't keep a backup lobster tail in the kitchen, just in case someone unexpectedly appears at the door. Everything was planned, the food was purchased, the portions were counted, the steaks were ready, and then the single friend arrived. But he wasn't single anymore. Standing next to him was his brand new girlfriend, a girlfriend the host had never met, a girlfriend the host didn't even know existed, and a girlfriend who had not been invited to the dinner. There had been no phone call, no message, not even a quick, "Hey, I recently started seeing someone. Would it be okay if I brought her?" Nothing. He simply arrived with an additional person and apparently expected the evening to continue as though nothing had changed. Now, let's pause on the Reddcouch for a second. Bringing an unexpected guest to a casual backyard party is already risky. But bringing an unexpected guest to a small, carefully planned dinner, where every person has an individual steak and lobster tail, that is a completely different level of confidence. Or entitlement, possibly both. The host tried to remain polite, but immediately realized there was a problem. There were 7 people and only 6 expensive meals. So the host pulled the friend aside and explained the situation. There was no extra steak. There was no extra lobster tail. The portions had been purchased specifically for the people who were invited. And the steaks were being cooked according to each guest's requested temperature. However, the host did have other food in the house. There was frozen pizza and at least 1 other frozen meal that could be heated up for the unexpected girlfriend. Was that the most elegant solution in history? Probably not. But it was food. It was available. And it was being offered to someone who had appeared without warning. The friend did not appreciate the offer, not even a little. Instead of apologizing for surprising the host, he became angry. He accused the host of disliking his new girlfriend. Remember, the host had only just met her. Apparently, failing to magically produce a 7th lobster tail was now evidence of a personal grudge. He also accused the host of deliberately trying to embarrass them. And after this outburst, he and his girlfriend left. So now the host was standing there with 5 remaining guests, 6 surf and turf dinners, and presumably 1 extremely awkward empty chair. Later, the host went to Reddit and asked whether they had handled the situation badly. Should all 6 steaks and lobster tails have been cut up and redistributed between 7 people? Should the host have sacrificed their own meal? Was offering frozen food to the unexpected guest insulting? Or was the friend entirely responsible for creating the problem? Reddit's official verdict was clear. The host was not the asshole, and the most common reaction was very simple. Why didn't the friend share his own food? He was the person who brought the additional guest. He created the shortage. So why was he waiting for the host to solve it? And he could have split his steak and lobster with his girlfriend. He could have eaten the filet while she had the lobster. They could have divided both meals in half and taken extra side dishes. They could have eaten smaller portions, then stopped for a burger on the way home. Or, as several commenters suggested, he could have given his girlfriend the steak and lobster and eaten the frozen pizza himself. And honestly, that would have been the perfect response. Imagine the host saying, "Your girlfriend can have the surf and turf. Since you brought her without asking, the frozen pizza is yours." That solution protects the girlfriend, who may not have known she wasn't invited, and it places the consequences directly on the person who caused the situation. Because the girlfriend might have been completely innocent. One commenter imagined that the friend probably told her something like, "Come with me, it'll be fine. Everyone will be happy to meet you." Then she arrived and discovered that the host didn't know her name, didn't know she was coming, and didn't have food for her. That would be unbelievably embarrassing. And instead of quietly fixing the situation, her boyfriend started an argument in front of everyone. Several commenters said they would be horrified if a partner put them in that position. One person, who had experienced something similar, explained that being taken to an invitation-only event without knowing you weren't actually invited makes you feel like you're taking up space where you don't belong. So while the friend claimed he was defending his girlfriend, he was actually the person who embarrassed her. He brought her somewhere without permission. He didn't prepare the host, he didn't prepare his girlfriend, and when the predictable problem appeared, he blamed everyone except himself. However, not everyone completely defended the host. Some commenters voted that everyone involved handled the situation badly. They agreed that bringing an uninvited guest was rude. But they also argued that offering one person frozen pizza, while everyone else ate filet mignon and lobster, would make her feel like a second-class guest. And honestly, picture that dinner table. 6 people have beautifully plated steak and lobster. One person has a microwave dinner. Even when the situation isn't the host's fault, that is going to feel uncomfortable. These commenters believe the host should have taken the friend aside and told him that he and his girlfriend would need to share his portion. Others suggested slicing the steaks and serving everything family style, so the shortage would be less obvious. There was also an interesting cultural divide in the comments. Some people said that in their families, an unexpected guest would always be fed, even if the host had to give up their own portion or immediately go out and purchase more food. To them, hospitality means that nobody at the table receives visibly worse food than everyone else. Other commenters strongly disagreed. They argued that hospitality does not require a host to prepare expensive backup meals for people who were never invited. And this wasn't a huge family dinner with large serving dishes and plenty of leftovers. These were individual portions of small, expensive ingredients. You can stretch a pot of soup. You can add more rice, or you can order another pizza. But you cannot stretch 6 lobster tails into 7 lobster tails, unless one lobster has been hiding in the bathroom. The host later added an important clarification. They admitted that splitting the friend's plate with his girlfriend simply didn't occur to them in the moment. The sudden change caused their brain to freeze. They explained that they have ADHD and sometimes struggle when plans change unexpectedly, especially while multitasking. And hosting a dinner like this already involves a lot of multitasking. Multiple steaks, cooked to different temperatures, lobster tails, side dishes, timing everything so it reaches the table hot, guests arriving, drinks being served. Then the door opens and suddenly there's an extra person who needs an extra meal. The host's mind went to the quickest available solution. There is food in the freezer. It might not have been the smoothest solution, but it doesn't necessarily sound malicious. There was also one final detail. Another guest later told the host that the friend and his new girlfriend had already been arguing before they arrived. So the friend may have entered the dinner angry and looking for another target. That could explain why he reacted so quickly and so dramatically. Instead of hearing, "I wasn't expecting another person, so I don't have another steak," he heard a personal attack. Still, arriving in a bad mood doesn't give someone permission to turn a dinner invitation into an emotional ambush. For me, the biggest issue is not the frozen pizza. The biggest issue is that this friend never gave anyone a choice. He didn't ask the host whether his girlfriend could attend. He didn't tell his girlfriend that the invitation might not include her. And after creating the entire problem, he didn't offer a single solution involving his own plate. He expected the host or the other invited guests to lose part of their carefully prepared dinner because of his decision. Could the host have handled it more gracefully? Absolutely. The ideal response would have been to welcome the girlfriend, explain that the food had been portioned in advance, and tell the friend that they would need to share his serving. Maybe add extra sides and heat the pizza for both of them if they were still hungry. That would avoid humiliating the girlfriend while making the responsible person deal with the consequences. But failing to invent the perfect etiquette solution while cooking a $300 meal does not make the host the villain. The friend created the emergency. The friend refused to share. And the friend responded to a reasonable explanation with accusations and a dramatic exit. So, I'm siding with Reddit's verdict. The host is not the asshole, but now it's your turn. Was the frozen dinner offer a reasonable attempt to handle an impossible situation? Should the host have divided the food between everyone? Or should the friend have handed his girlfriend the lobster, taken the frozen pizza, and accepted the consequences of bringing an uninvited guest? Drop your verdict in the comments. And remember, before you bring someone to a dinner party, send a message. It takes 10 seconds. And it may save a friendship, a romantic relationship, and one perfectly cooked filet mignon. And that's where this story ends. But now it's your turn. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I read as many of them as I can, and I'm always curious to see what you think. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more real Reddit stories. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next story, take care.